Okay, we're good. Okay, hi everyone. So today we're talking about SEO in 2019. So we'll have a look at what SEO covers, but in general, it's a lot of tools that people in digital marketing use to be visible and to get leads. And the goal of this presentation is to give you an idea of what is SEO, not to make you a specialist, but also to give you the tools to understand what it is if you need to talk to an SEO consultant and make sure that you choose the right person, because there's a lot of different kinds of people working in the field, and you want to know in what direction you want to go. So little introduction about myself. So I'm originally from France, and I arrived in Israel about 15 years ago. And when I arrived in Israel, I started working for a digital marketing agency as an SEO consultant. And I worked for a few years. And after a while, I decided to open my own online business, because I wanted to apply what I learned as a consultant with clients and do it for myself. So I founded and created an online English school to help professionals around the world, mainly in Europe, to improve their English with teachers. And so I created a platform, and 80% of my traffic comes from SEO. So I do my SEO myself. I apply all the rules. I follow up on the news, on what's going on in the industry, and it's a lot of time to invest in that, but something I enjoy. So I'm still doing it, and so I basically have 15 years of experience with SEO. So it's changed a lot over the years, and I think when you get into the field, it's you'll see that there's a lot to learn and a lot of changes. So you need to keep up to date all the time, so that you know what works, what doesn't work, what is allowed and what is not allowed. So let's have a look at what is SEO, because maybe it's a bit blurry for a lot of you. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. It can also be referred as free traffic, organic traffic, natural search. It's all these terms that say that you're getting traffic from basically Google, mainly Google, in the free side of the website. And it's a great way to get visibility and to reach this third circle that Natalie talks about, people who don't know you, never heard of you, but who are interested in what you're offering. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk a lot about SEO terms, because I want you to be acquainted with the vocabulary, because if you're going to work with an SEO consultant, he's going to use the terms, and you want to understand what it's talking about. All right, so basically this is a Google page. So you have the search at the top of the page, and so you put your keywords, and then you have a list of results. And the list of results is called the search engine ranking page. So there's an algorithm behind that calculates which website is the most relevant based on the keyword you typed. Okay, so Google will calculate, and according to tons of criteria, hundreds, like people said there's more than 200 signals that Google checks to calculate the ranking for each keyword. And it's going to get even more complicated, as we'll see in the future, in the next slides. So the results that I circled in red are the free results, okay, the organic results. And on the Google page, you also have what I circled in green, which is the paid advertising. We're not going to talk about paid advertising. We're only going to talk about this free ranking. So, so how does it work? Okay, so we said there's 200 signals. What is this? How do we play with all these criteria to make your website come in the first position, first page, like first 2-3 pages? After 3 pages, it's as if your content doesn't exist, and is because not many people go past the third page. So there's 3 areas of that you can work on. Okay, the first one is the content. You need rich content. Rich content means like you can invest in a blog, like write regularly, and something that is interesting, relevant, and focus on the right keywords. Could be your website, the pages of your website that have to be well written and focused on exactly what you're doing and what you think your audience is looking. So that's one area. The second is a bit more technical. It's more looking at your website itself, how it's built, how it's structured, to help Google understand what is important in your website. So you have the titles, you have the navigation, the sitemap, all sorts of links that you put between pages. All this helps Google understand what your content is about, and it can make it appear better in the best positions if it's well done. And the third area of work is the your link profile. So the idea behind this is that if you have interesting content, people on the web are going to see this content, and if they like it, they're going to talk about it, and they're going to link back to your content. So you write an article on your blog, for example, and someone else has a website. I mean, personally, I had some news website talking about, like when I started 10 years ago, about new ways of learning, and I had some articles that were pointing back to my website, and that's great. That because it shows authority, it shows that you're the expert. So the more links you have, the better, and that's one of the areas that is the most difficult to reach, because it's not in your hands. I mean, the content, you write it. The structure of the website, you do it. The links is more, it's other people have to link to you. So that's the area that is very difficult to work on, but it's still very, very important. So, okay. So how do we do it? Okay, so if I look at my business, I could say maybe that, I don't know, English, keyword English is relevant and would be interesting to promote through my content. So it's true, and it's not true. For example, English is a very broad keyword, which means that it gets a lot of views, okay? But at the same time, it's too broad in a way that you don't really know what people are looking for when they type English on Google. Maybe they're looking for English lessons like I offer, but they could also be looking for, I don't know, English translation, English dictionary, English vocabulary, which is really not what I'm interested in. So trying to work hard on SEO to be ranked first on English would be counterproductive, because it would cost a lot of money, a lot of efforts, because it's very competitive, and also wouldn't bring quality audience. So what we want is a list of keywords that are relevant and that would bring the audience who is interested in what you're offering. So for example, I have this Learn English Online is a great keyword for me, okay? So there are some tools that help you find keywords. So I can start with this keyword, Learn English Online. And there's a tool called like the Google Keyword Planner. There's lots of other tools like Suggest that you type one keyword and they will give you dozens of other keywords. So for example, with this one, Learn English Online, I got 90 suggestions. I could have Learn English Online American, or for adults, or grammar, etc., etc. So it helps you decide on what keywords you're going to work. And because not every keyword is equal. So like for example, Learn English Online YouTube is not what I do. So it's not something that I want to work on. So the keywords are, it's the first step. It's the first step. And you need to start with this step with a lot of, like you need to put yourself in the shoes of your audience, of your clients, of people who are interested in what you're offering, to see what would they look for on Google. And when you get that, then you can write content related to that. And so a lot of time, the keywords you're going to find are keywords that are linked to the pain points of your audience. So you can analyze your base of clients, see what their needs are, and try to answer that through blog articles, through all sorts of content that you could offer and answer these pain points. And then you would naturally get ranked on Google for these keywords. The other tool I have, and I would suggest you start straight away, like if you have a website, register to the Google Search Console. If you have a Google Analytics account, you can link the two tools together, and it will give you a great view on what's going on with your traffic. So the Google Search Console is a tool that helps you see how people arrived to your website, what keywords they typed to reach you. Okay, so they give the problem with this tool is that they only give you the top 1,000 keywords, and I mean there's maybe at the beginning you're going to get only a few dozen keywords you rank for, but after a while 1,000 keywords is not enough, and maybe you can go to paid tools that do the same thing. But I think to start with, the Google Search Console is great. It gives you I'll go through the vocabulary a bit because it's important. The impressions, how many impressions is, like if you type a keyword, then you're on the listing, and let's say you're on the first page. So your people are going to see your website on the list of the results. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to click on it, but at least they're going to see your site. So that's the impressions. So for example, if I look at my page here, I have spoken English course. Okay, I got close to 5,000 impressions. Okay, so I was there 5,000 times in the period of time that was given. And then you have the clicks. How many people actually clicked on that, on your ranking, on your website? And so in that case, I got 50 people who clicked and got to my page. So the CTR, the click-through rate, is 1%. Okay, 50 divided by 5,000. Like it's like the proportion of people who click compared to the ones who saw your website on the listing. So for example, Live English, which is the name of my company, I get a much higher CTR, click-through rate. So people are looking for Live English, I have 17% to click on my website. Okay, and usually your brand or your name is one of the first keywords that comes up here, and you should have a good CTR for those keywords. So that's really something like to do straight away, because it gives you a full picture of what's going on. And also you get the position. The position is the average position, which is on what position that your website came up on for that keyword. So for example, spoken English course was on position 9.7. Okay, so first page, but at the bottom of the first page. That's why the CTR is low. Like if you're on first position, your click-through rate could be 20, 30, maybe even more than 30%, which means that a lot of people click on the first result, click on the second result, but they don't always scroll down to go to the last result of even of the first page. And once you go to the second page, your click-through rate goes down even more. Okay, so it's important to know what is your position, because you can also use it for your content strategy. Like for example, at some stage, I looked at my list of keywords, and I decided that all the keywords that were on page 2, I wanted to work on my content on the website so that I would try to have all these keywords move to page 1. And just doing this can make a big impact on the traffic, on the overall traffic, on your monthly traffic. Because as we said, the click-through rate is much higher on first page. Okay, they see your ad, it's not an ad, they see your listing and they click, so that's the click-through rate. So if you're the first 3 results, the click-through rate is very high. So second page, it's not great. So just moving from page 2 to page 1, even if you're after the 5th position, makes a big difference in traffic. And moving from page 2, like let's say position 11 to position 9, is not a lot of effort. I mean, if you work well on the content, just moving these 2 positions will make it will make a very big difference in your traffic. So the third tool I wanted to talk about to monitor your results is Google Analytics. As I said, you can link it with the Google Search Console so that you have a complete overview of what's going on. What I particularly look at on Google Analytics is the general trend to see what happened with my traffic. I mean, most businesses have seasonality, so I prefer to compare this month to last year's same month so that I can have I can check what's happened as a big trend, because I don't know, comparing in my activity, for example, August and September doesn't make sense, because in August everyone's on holidays and doesn't want to learn English, and in September everyone's going back to work and wants to improve their English. So it's 2 different situations that are not very comparable. The second thing I like to analyze on Google Analytics is your landing page stats. So as we said, you have this Google Search Console. You know what keywords your users used to get to your website. Now, the landing page tells you on what page they arrived. Okay, so the idea when you build a website is to have each page devoted to 1, sometimes 2 keywords or groups of keywords. So for example, in my situation, I have a page for spoken English. I have a page for business English. I have a page for English tutors, etc. So all my keywords are, each page is devoted to 1 keyword, or let's say like a group of keywords, like a group of connected keywords. So you want to see what is the landing page stats. So in the like you want to see how many people arrived, how long they spent on the website, if they visited other pages after this landing page, and also look at the bounce rate. Okay, that's a concept that if the bounce rate is very important. Like it's the metrics that tells you how many people clicked on Google, okay, clicked on your listing, arrived at a certain page, and then they left because they were not happy with what they found, and they closed the browser, went back to Google. They didn't do anything on your website. So that's the bounce rate. So you want the bounce rate to be as low as possible. So you can analyze your landing page and say, okay, or here I have a very high bounce rate. What's going on? How can I improve my content? How can I make it more attractive? Maybe I need a call to action there to try to trigger something else. Because or maybe the keyword, the people are looking at the listing, they see the little description, and when they click there, it doesn't really match. So maybe I need to describe what the page is about more precisely, so that only people who are interested in what's on the page will click there. Okay, and there's also on Google Analytics, there's a possibility to define goals. So for example, you want to, I don't know, to define, like maybe one goal would be to fill a contact form. Okay, so then it will tell you, okay, people who came through that page, you got 3% who ended up sending a contact form. People went through another page, there were like 10% who filled the form. So then you know what pages are the most effective. Could be a contact form, could be a free session, could be lots of different things. But you can define different goals and analyze based on each landing page what is going on. So that's very important to have a look at Google Analytics on a regular basis. I think monthly is a good frequency. Maybe if you work with someone, have reporting done for you and have the highlights of what is important to check, so that you have a picture of what's going on. And more than that, I think the analysis not only gives you a view of what's going on, but also can help you decide on more actions on your website. What content you're going to promote more? What updates are you going to do? What little tweaks are you going to try? Because maybe this button is red and that button is green, and I see that people who where the page, like if on that page the button is red, people click more than on the other page where the button is green. Like you can tweak things and test, and that's very that can help you define some new objectives for the coming for the next month. Okay, so SEO is an art. Okay, there's no recipe that you know that if you apply that, you're going to be number one. First, because the algorithm is very complex, and you have competition who are also doing SEO for some of them. So the more competition you have, the harder it's going to be. It's very hard, but at the same time, it's very interesting. There's a lot of things that you can do to make it to play with the algorithm, to play with the to see if it works, because sometimes it works for you and doesn't work for others, and vice versa. So I think for me, what's working is like fresh content is something that I feel is a must. Like you every time you put new content, or every time you update old content and you add more stuff, and you make it richer and more interesting, then you can see traffic increasing. We were talking about the keywords earlier. So if you're talking to a SEO consultant, they're going to talk to you about long tail keywords. Long tail keywords are these keywords of 3, 4, even 5 words that are better than just a one word keyword, 2 word keywords, because it's going to, like it's going to be very hard to rank for even two-word keywords. It's going to be very, very hard for a small business in particular. It's so it's better to go for three-word long tail. Okay, so the end, like 3 words, 4 words, even 5 words, because the like if you look at it, you will see that if it's something that is relevant to your audience, you'll get people who are ready to buy from you. Like if you get a 3, 4, 5 keyword, they're looking for something that you're offering. So maybe the traffic is not going to be as good. You're not going to have thousands of impressions for that keyword. But at the same time, those who are going to arrive in your website, they're going to buy because that's exactly what you're offering. Okay. The other thing I've noticed is that direct traffic is important. So if you look at your analytics, you can see where your traffic is coming from. So you have the organic traffic, you have your social media traffic, and you also have the direct traffic. The direct traffic is people who simply type your website on the bar. They only come from because they know you. Okay, so this is one of the signals, because there's this idea that that offline is important. Like if you go to a conference, you're meeting people in a networking group, and you give your business card to someone, and then they're going to see, this is the website, and they're going to type the website. Then the Google takes it into account, because it's a signal for Google to say, this person is doing work outside the online scene, and we're going to help in the ranking. The other thing is when you created your website. There's a lot of competition, and I don't know how many pages there exist on the web, but every year the numbers just you have millions more pages every year. So the Google decided that websites that have been online for a long time, they have more weight than new websites. So if you're starting a new website, it's going to take between 6 months and a year before you see results for your SEO. So that's something to take into account in your digital strategy. It's not going to be instant. You're not going to have your page and suddenly everyone's going to find you on Google. It's going to take a long time. If you already have a website, but you haven't done much, it's good. Start working on it. The creation, you've already created your website, so it's not going to be considered a new website. You can add pages to it, it's fine. You're still going to have the benefit of having an older website. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was about black hat. That's an expression about all the tactics that some SEO guys use that are not recommended, that are not allowed by Google. They usually work. Okay, the black hat works short term, if you want, because Google hasn't done anything about it, but in the long run it doesn't pay, because you're going to get penalized. And you don't want to be penalized. I mean, if it's a good source of your traffic, it's going to hurt a lot if you're penalized by Google. So, for example, what is not to do in SEO, and what you really don't want you or your SEO guys to do with your website. So you don't want to duplicate content, like copy a blog from someone else and put it on your website. That's really not what you want to do, because Google knows everything. So if it's a copy, you're going to be penalized for that. Okay, you can refer, you can link back to the person, to the other website, but just copying content is not great. Then you, like old techniques, like maybe when I started, that was already like 15 years ago, that was something, 15 years ago was very easy to do SEO. You were just putting your keyword 3 times on a page, and you knew like a week later you were going to be on the first page for that keyword. Don't stuff. It doesn't work anymore. Don't stuff your content with keywords. You need to play with your keywords. You need to bring them naturally to your content. So if you write something, I don't know, like you're the expert in a certain field, and you want to rank for certain keywords. You still want to use these keywords, but at the same time, it has to be natural. You don't want to there's lots of like you don't want to make it like it has to be readable as a person. If you read the text and you repeat yourself too much, then you know it's not good, and it's not going to help you rank better. The other thing that was very fashionable a few years ago was to buy links, because we said it's very hard to get links from people, and links are very important to rank well. But if you buy links, then also again you can get penalized, and so like sometimes you have directories that offer you to be listed. It's most of the time, if it's only to be listed because you want to have a link that will help your Google ranking, it's usually not a good idea. If it's something genuine, then it could be okay. But you have links. It has a lot of influence, but don't try to do it in a wise way. And because links are important, some people invent some schemes of exchange links. I will link to your website, and you link to my website, and that also doesn't work. Don't do that, because if you're penalized, it's very hard to get back on track and to be in the good books with Google. So what are the trends for this year? Like, SEO is changing a lot. It's there's lots of different like if you follow the SEO news, it's every year you have different areas to work on, and so even if one year you're well positioned, it doesn't mean that it's going to stay like this forever, because things evolve all the time, and so your content needs to be updated all the time, and you need to have a long-term strategy with your content. So one thing that I found very difficult was that more and more the search result is personalized, which means that based on your profile, on your past searches, on your location, on lots of websites you've visited on your browser, lots of things like that, you're going to have a specific result that is only applicable to you. Okay, so Natalie is getting 1, 2, 3. I'm going to get 3 other websites as the first 3 ones. Everyone has a different result on Google. So that makes it very hard. And that's why if you remember, in the Search Console, you had the average position. That wasn't a whole number. That was like 9.3, whatever. It's because it's an average of all the people who found you. And some people will see on position 8, some people will see on position 6, others on position 10, maybe on the second page. So it's very hard to know if it's working or not, because everyone's getting something different. The area to check and to for this year in particular is this, what they call the rank brain. It's a concept of Google that says that Google thinks like a human. So they like the click-through rate, for example, is giving Google an indication if the website is worthy of being in the position it's been. So for example, you're on first position, so for a certain keyword, and you get a click-through rate of 0.5% or 1%. That's very bad. Like if you're on first position, you should expect to have a click-through rate of 30%. Like 30% of people who see you on first position should click on your listing. If they don't, it means that people looked at the title and the description that Google shows, and they didn't feel it was right. So that has an impact on your future ranking. The other area is a new trend. It's not very new, but like a trend to have comprehensive content, like huge content, like 5,000 words, 10,000 words, even more, like a guide about a certain topic that will go really deep in all the details of whatever we're talking about. And that's a lot of time. Like, it can take a long time to write this kind of content, but it pays, because writing this kind of content makes you look like an expert, like an authority, and that's what Google is looking at. They want experts. They feel like to be on first position, you have to provide value to the audience. So if you write content that is very deep, well written, and that has a lot of information, then it's usually content that ranks well. The other trend for the year is it's called Mobile First Index. Now we have a website, okay, and when you look at your website on a mobile phone, that's the reference website that Google is looking at now. In the past, Google was looking at your website like at the version that was on your desktop, okay, but because mobile is used more than desktop nowadays for Google searches, so Google is saying, okay, your website is its version as a mobile version. So if your website is not adapted to mobile, like if it's still an older site that hasn't been it's not responsive, which means that is not showing well on your mobile phone screen, then you're in trouble, because that's what Google is looking at for ranking. The other area is videos. And we've been talking about videos for a while now, but I think videos are taking such a big space online in general, and also in searches. I mean, YouTube is a search engine, okay? So you can rank for YouTube and rank well, but also on the Google search page, the YouTube videos have some priority. So if you do a lot of videos, try to optimize them, like put rich content, rich keywords on the title, on the description, and like so that Google understands what the video is about. Put subtitles, or make sure the subtitles that are generated from YouTube are relevant. So it helps with ranking. And the last area that is pretty new, and I haven't done much research on that, is the voice search. Apparently, this is the future, that a lot of searches that we're going to do are going to be based on voice and not just typing. And that's an area that is pretty new, and that we should look into. Okay, so just to summarize, SEO has changed a lot, and it's really the algorithm behind it is amazingly complex, and it's getting closer and closer to the way human beings think. So it's not a robot. It's the content you write should be written for people. Okay, so if your content is good for people, it will be good for Google. And that's something, that's a lot of common sense, and it's it makes it, in a way, it makes it easier, because you know that Google crawls the websites and sees what's going on more, and it's very close to the way we look at things. So if it's good for people, it will be good for Google, and you know what is good for people, so you should be able to rank well. And the idea is that you want to build trust and show your authority. That's very important. That's a very important concept, to be the expert in your field. That so if you manage to show that, you will naturally, okay, even if you don't have an SEO consultant but you like writing content, then with a bit of time, and if I mean, I would still take someone to make sure it's done the right way and the most effective way. But even like if you don't want straight away to take a consultant, just writing content and make it good for your audience, but not just write for the sake of writing and for the sake of being ranked on Google. If you write something that has a lot of depth, then you will see that naturally you will rank on Google. And if you want to learn more about SEO, there's I just listed 4 websites that are very used in the industry. The first one I think is great, is neilpatel.com. It's a guy who does has a huge website about SEO and all sorts of other online marketing tools. It's very comprehensive. Covers everything from beginners to advanced. So if I would pick one from these 4, that would be the first one. It's if you want to get to know more about SEO and to follow up, because again, what I'm saying now is good for early 2019. I don't know what it's going to be the future, but I always try to follow with these websites. Backlinko is good, Moz, Search Engine Journal, they're very good websites to help you follow on the news, what's being tested, and what are the updates from Google. And you want to know what's going on, because what works now is not what's going to work in the future. So that's it for SEO from at the moment. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer now. And for those who are watching the recording, you can feel free to contact me directly.